I stopped eating when I was 11 years old. Not because I wanted to be thin, not because I hated my body, but because I'd learned that starvation was the only weapon I had against a system designed to sell me. In my family, girls were married the moment they got their first period. 12, 13, 14, didn't matter. The blood meant you were ready for a husband 3 times your age. And I'd just watched my cousin Layla get promised to a 43-year-old man 3 days after she turned 12. His previous 2 wives had died before turning 20. So I made a decision that night, lying in bed listening to Layla cry in the next room. If I never got my period, they couldn't marry me off. And I'd read somewhere that girls who were too thin didn't menstruate. That was my plan. Starve myself into safety. I was 11 years old, and that was the best option I could think of. My name is Amira. I grew up in a large extended family in a suburb outside Phoenix, Arizona. Yes, Arizona, not some distant country. This was happening in America the entire time, hidden behind the walls of our community, protected by the silence of people who looked the other way. We lived in a cluster of houses, all within a few blocks of each other. My parents, aunts, uncles, cousins, maybe 40 people total, all following the old ways. The men worked construction or owned small businesses. The women stayed home, raised children, and prepared daughters for marriage. And marriage came early, very early. My mother was married at 13. She had me at 14. By the time she was my age, 20, she had 4 children and looked 40. I remember watching her hands shake as she cooked, exhausted from another pregnancy she hadn't chosen. But she never complained. None of the women did. This was our culture, they'd say. This was how we honored our families. Girls who refused were called diseased, contaminated, a cancer that needed to be cut out. I believed them. For years, I believed this was normal, that every girl in America went through this, that the exhausted, hollow-eyed women in my family were what adult women were supposed to look like. Until I started going to public school. I was in 6th grade when I first realized something was wrong. My teacher, Mrs. Patterson, asked us to write about our future dreams. Other girls wrote about becoming doctors, teachers, artists. I wrote about being a good wife and having many sons to honor my future husband. Mrs. Patterson kept me after class. "Amira," she said gently, "you're 11 years old. Don't you want to dream bigger than that?" I didn't understand the question. That is big. That's the most important thing a woman can do. Her face did something strange, a flicker of concern that she quickly hid. What about college? A career? Traveling? Women in my family don't do those things. We get married and have children. When do girls in your family usually get married? I hesitated. Some instinct told me not to answer truthfully. After high school, I lied. She studied me for a long moment. "Amira, if you ever need to talk about anything at all, my door is always open, okay?" I nodded, not understanding why she looked so worried. But the seed was planted. Why had I lied? Why did I instinctively know not to tell her the truth? Every Friday, from dawn until mid-afternoon, I underwent what my family called wife training. I had to serve breakfast to every adult male in the extended family. My father, uncles, older cousins. I carried heavy platters of food, kept their teacups filled, cleared plates the moment they finished eating, and I had to do it in complete silence. No speaking unless spoken to, no eye contact, no noise. If I made a sound, a plate clattering, a spoon dropping, I got the belt. 10 lashes on my back or hands. If I made eye contact with a man, 15 lashes. My mother administered the punishment. She cried while she did it, but she never stopped. "This is for your own good," she'd whisper. "You need to learn obedience. A disobedient wife brings shame." After serving, I had to clean the entire kitchen by myself. Then came cooking training, where my grandmother would make me hold hot pots without oven mitts to toughen up soft hands. The blisters would heal into calluses, which was the point. A good wife had strong hands that could work without complaint. In the evenings, my mother applied skin-whitening cream to my face and arms. "Men want fair wives," she explained, rubbing the stinging cream into my skin. "Dark skin is ugly. We need to make you beautiful." I endured it all without complaint. I was the perfect daughter, obedient, quiet, eager to learn. But at night, alone in my room, I barely ate the dinner I'd saved. A few bites, then I'd hide the rest in a plastic bag and throw it away later. I learned which foods had the fewest calories, how to make it look like I'd eaten when I hadn't, how to lie about being full. The weight dropped off me slowly. Other girls started calling me skeleton girl, but I didn't care. Every pound I lost felt like another week of freedom. When Layla turned 12, I watched the preparation with growing horror. She got her period on a Monday. By Wednesday, she was engaged. By Friday, she was married in a ceremony in someone's living room. Not a real wedding, not legal, but binding in our community. Her husband, Omar, was 43. He had graying hair and 2 dead wives. Both had died of kidney failure before turning 20, though the women whispered it was from pregnancies too close together, bodies too young to handle childbirth again and again. At the wedding ceremony, Layla wore a red dress and gold jewelry. Her hands were painted with henna. She sat perfectly still while Omar signed the papers. Not legal marriage papers. Those would come later when she turned 18. But religious documents that, in our community, meant she belonged to him now. I sat next to my mother, watching Layla's face. She looked like a doll. Empty. Already gone. Beautiful, isn't she? My mother whispered. In 2 years, this will be you. That night, I heard Layla screaming. Her bedroom was next to mine. The walls were thin. I pressed my pillow over my ears, but I could still hear her crying, begging someone to stop. In the morning, she came to breakfast moving carefully, like everything hurt. She served Omar his meal in silence, hands shaking. He didn't look at her, just ate and left. My mother hugged her afterward. It gets easier, she promised. The first months are hard, but you'll adjust. Layla nodded, but her eyes were dead. I stopped eating entirely for 3 days after that. My mother noticed and force-fed me, holding my jaw open while my aunt poured soup down my throat. You'll damage yourself, my mother scolded. Starving is vanity. Eat. I ate just enough to avoid being force-fed again, but the horror of what I'd witnessed fueled my determination. I would not end up like Layla. I would not. Everything changed in 8th grade. I was 14 and still hadn't gotten my period, a fact that both pleased and worried my family. Pleased because it meant no rush to marry me off. Worried because what if something was wrong? What if I couldn't have children? My mother took me to a doctor for the first time in years. Not our usual doctor who was part of the community, but a random clinic because our regular doctor was booked. The nurse who took my vitals frowned at the scale. 87 pounds at 14? When did you last eat? This morning. I lied. She didn't believe me. I could see it in her face. But she finished the exam and left me alone in the room while she went to get the doctor. That's when I saw the pamphlets. They were in a rack on the wall. Colorful brochures about nutrition, exercise, puberty. But one caught my eye. Know Your Rights. A guide for young teens. I grabbed it without thinking, shoving it under my shirt. The doctor came in, asked questions about my eating habits, my menstrual cycle, my home life. I lied about everything. Said I ate plenty, just had a fast metabolism. Said my family was loving and supportive. She prescribed vitamin supplements and told my mother I needed more calories. My mother nodded, promised to make sure I ate better. In the car, she slapped me. You made me look like a bad mother. Eat more or I'll force-feed you at every meal. But that night, alone in my room, I read the pamphlet, and my entire world shifted. The pamphlet was simple. Just a few pages of information, but every word felt like a revelation. Marriage under age 18 is illegal in most U.S. states. No parent can force a minor to marry. Cultural or religious practices don't override U.S. law. If you're being forced into marriage, tell a teacher, counselor, or doctor. They are required by law to report it. I read it 5 times, then 10. Then I memorized every word because I was terrified someone would find it. This couldn't be right. My family had been marrying girls off for generations. How could it be illegal? How could no one have stopped it? But as I thought about it, I realized we never had legal weddings. The ceremonies happened in living rooms, not courthouses. The girls didn't sign legal marriage certificates until they turned 18, and by then, they already had children. They were trapped. It was all designed to avoid the law while keeping us bound. For the first time in 3 years, I felt something other than fear. I felt fury. I started paying attention at school, really paying attention. In health class, we learned about mandatory reporting laws. Teachers, counselors, doctors, they all had to report suspected child abuse. Marriage of a minor counted as abuse. In social studies, we discussed civil rights. I asked questions about women's rights, age of consent, legal marriage. The teacher seemed pleased by my engagement. She had no idea I was planning an escape. I memorized phone numbers from that pamphlet: CPS hotline, police non-emergency line, legal aid services. I wrote them in the margins of my school notebooks disguised as phone numbers for homework partners. But I couldn't just save myself. There were 6 younger cousins in my family, all under 12, all destined for the same fate. If I ran, they'd just tighten control. I needed to teach them what I'd learned first, so I started a secret group. My uncle's tool shed sat at the back of his property, rarely used. I told my family I was helping my uncle organize it. Instead, I met with my younger cousins there. Sarah, age 11, Noor, age 10, Hannah, age 9, Zara, age 12, Fatima, age 8, and Layla's younger sister, Mina, age 10. 6 girls who hadn't bled yet. 6 girls who still had time. What I'm about to tell you, I said at our first meeting, you can't repeat to anyone. Not your mothers, not your sisters, nobody, swear it. They swore, eyes wide. I pulled out pages I'd copied from the pamphlet by hand. Marriage before 18 is illegal. What our family does, it's against the law. Sarah shook her head. But Mama says it's our culture. Culture can't be illegal. It can when it harms children. Listen, I read them the sections about mandatory reporters, about emergency protective orders, about how to get help. If you tell a teacher the right words, I'm being forced to marry, or my family is arranging my wedding, they have to report it by law. CPS will investigate. Noor looked terrified. But then our families will know we told. Yes, that's why you only do it when you have no other choice. When your period starts and they begin planning your wedding, that's when you tell. We met every week for 4 months. I taught them everything. Which teachers were safe, what exact words triggered mandatory reports, where shelters were located, how to memorize phone numbers without writing them down. I made them practice. I'm 13, and my parents are forcing me to marry a 40-year-old man. Please help. Over and over until they could say it clearly, calmly, even while crying. You might be scared, I told them. You might think you're betraying your family, but you're saving your own life. Remember that. I was 15 when my period finally came. I'd been so careful, still barely eating, trying to keep my weight low enough to delay puberty. But bodies are stubborn. Despite my best efforts, it happened. I was in the kitchen making breakfast when I felt the wetness. Looked down, blood on my white dress. For a moment, I thought I could hide it. Run upstairs, clean up, pretend it hadn't happened. But my mother was right there. She saw the blood and screamed, not in horror, in joy. She's a woman now, she called to my aunts. Finally, she's ready. Within an hour, every woman in the family knew. They hugged me, kissed my cheeks, told me how lucky I was. My father would choose a good husband. I'd have beautiful children. I'd finally fulfill my purpose. I smiled and thanked them. Inside, I was calculating. How long did I have? How many days before they arranged the wedding? The answer came that night. My father announced my engagement at dinner. Karim Al-Mansour has asked for your hand. He's a good man, successful businessman, very respected in the community. The wedding will be in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Karim was 46 years old. He'd had 2 wives before. Both died young. One from childbirth complications. One from kidney failure. He had children older than me. I kept my face neutral. Thank you, Baba. I'm honored. But that night, I lay in bed knowing I had 14 days to escape. I couldn't run immediately. They were watching me too carefully, excited about the wedding. But I had the shed meetings. One more gathering before they started limiting my freedom. The next shed meeting, all 6 girls showed up. I told them what happened. My wedding is in 13 days. I'm going to run. But I need your help. I gave Mina, Layla's sister, my notebook. Every shelter address, every phone number, every piece of information I'd gathered. If I disappear, they'll search my room. They can't find this on me. Hide it in your room, memorize what you can, and use it when your time comes. Then I looked at Zara, who was 12 and would be next. I need you to do something brave. In 3 days, I need you to tell your school counselor what happens in our family. Use the exact words I taught you. Why 3 days? Because I need time to get the plan in place. When you tell, CPS will come to investigate. That's when I'll run during the chaos. She looked terrified, but nodded. I'll do it. I spent the next 3 days playing the perfect bride-to-be. I let them fit me for the wedding dress. I smiled when Karim came to dinner, even when his eyes crawled over my body. I endured the women's excited planning, and I prepared. I stole a little money every day from my mother's purse, just $1 or $2 so she wouldn't notice. I packed a small bag with a change of clothes and hid it in my closet. I memorized the bus schedule. I planned my route to the nearest shelter. On day 3, Zara went to school and told her counselor everything. The CPS workers arrived at my uncle's house that afternoon. I was helping prepare dinner when my mother got the phone call. Her face went white. They're asking about Zara, about marriages, about all the girls in the family. Within an hour, my father and uncles were in emergency meetings. The women gathered in clusters, whispering frantically. Something had gone wrong. Someone had talked. I kept my head down, chopping vegetables, trying to look innocent. The CPS workers wanted to interview every girl under 18 separately. My family couldn't refuse without looking suspicious. They agreed, but the whole house vibrated with tension. When the workers came to interview me, I had a split-second decision to make. Tell them everything now and escape with their help, or stick to my plan. I looked at the worker's face, kind but tired, overwhelmed. I thought about how long investigations took, how my family would lawyer up, how I might end up back in their custody. I lied, told her everything was fine, said Zara must be confused. After the workers left, my family exploded. My father gathered everyone in the living room. Someone has been teaching the girls to lie. Someone has poisoned their minds against our family. They started searching. Every bedroom, every drawer, every hiding place. My uncle found Zara's room first, found my notebook hidden under her mattress. Every shelter address, every legal statute, every plan. He brought it downstairs and dropped it on the coffee table. My father's face turned purple with rage. Whose is this? Nobody spoke. He opened it, saw my handwriting, looked at me. You. His voice was quiet, deadly. You did this. You're the disease, the cancer. My mother started crying. My aunts looked at me like I'd betrayed them all. The younger girls, my girls, looked terrified. My father threw the notebook into the fireplace, watched it burn. The wedding is tomorrow, he announced. Dawn, before she can destroy anyone else. They locked me in my room that night. No phone, no windows that opened. Just me and the wedding dress hanging on the door like a ghost. I lay in bed, listening to them patrol the hallway. My uncle stood guard outside my door. There was no way out, unless I got creative. At 3 a.m. I started moaning, loud enough for my uncle to hear. He opened the door cautiously. What? I'm sick. My stomach, I need the bathroom, please. He looked suspicious, but let me out, following me down the hall to the bathroom. I went inside, locked the door. He stood guard outside. I had maybe 5 minutes before he got suspicious. The bathroom window was small and painted shut. But months ago, I'd been working on it with a butter knife stolen from the kitchen, slowly scraping away the paint in places nobody would notice. I flushed the toilet for noise, turned on the tap, then climbed onto the toilet and pushed the window frame with all my strength. The paint cracked. The window opened. "Hurry up in there," my uncle called. I grabbed the plastic bag I'd hidden behind the toilet tank. Clothes, the money I'd stolen, the addresses I'd memorized and rewritten. I shoved it through the window. Then I pulled myself up. The window was tiny. I'd lost so much weight over the years that I was small enough, but barely. My shoulders scraped. My hips stuck. My uncle pounded on the door. "What are you doing in there?" I twisted sideways, ignoring the pain. My shirt tore on the window frame. Then I was through, dropping 6 feet to the wet grass below. I heard the bathroom door splintering as I ran. I ran barefoot through our neighborhood at 3 a.m., wearing thin pajamas, carrying a plastic bag with everything I owned. Behind me, I heard shouting, car engines starting, my family mobilizing. Our neighborhood was a maze of houses, all filled with community members who would turn me in without question. I had to get to the main road 3 blocks away before they caught me. I cut through backyards, past pools and sheds, over fences. Dogs barked. Motion lights flicked on, but I kept running. A car turned the corner ahead of me. My cousin Omar's voice. "There! I see her!" I dove behind a dumpster, pressing myself flat. The car drove past, then screeched to a stop. She went this way. I ran in the opposite direction, through a stranger's yard, through their rose bushes. Thorns tore my skin. I didn't stop. The bus stop came into view just as the early morning bus pulled up. I burst from between buildings, waving frantically. The driver, an older black woman, took one look at my bloody feet and torn clothes and held the door. I climbed the steps. "Please, I need to get downtown. I'll pay you back. I promise." An elderly woman in the front seat stood up and paid my fare without a word. She guided me to the seat next to her and handed me tissues. The bus pulled away, just as Omar's car skidded into the parking lot. The courthouse was a massive building downtown. I limped in, leaving bloody footprints on the marble floor. "I need an emergency protective order," I told the clerk. "I'm 15. My family is forcing me to marry. The wedding is supposed to be today." Her expression shifted from irritation to alarm. "Come with me." She brought me to a judge who was working early, reviewing cases. He read my petition right there in his office. "How old is the man they want you to marry?" 46. "And this wedding was scheduled for today?" "Dawn. They'll be looking for me." He signed the order immediately. "This is temporary. 14 days until the full hearing. But as of right now, your family cannot contact you or come within 500 feet of you." I clutched the paper like a lifeline. "Do you have somewhere safe to stay?" he asked. "There's a shelter." The clerk made the call while I waited. Her face fell. "They're completely full. 3-day waitlist. 3 days. I had nowhere to go for 3 days. I remembered my 8th grade teacher, the one who'd seemed concerned when I wrote that essay about being a wife, Ms. Rodriguez. I took 3 buses to reach Jefferson High School. It was Saturday, but her car was in the lot. She sometimes came in on weekends to grade papers. I found her in her classroom, red pen in hand. She looked up, dropped the pen. Oh my God. She was around the desk in seconds, taking in my bloody feet, torn pajamas. The protective order clutched in my shaking hand. "Sit. Don't move." She got the first aid kit and started cleaning my feet. That's when I finally started crying. Real tears, not the fake ones from the bathroom escape. "They were going to make me marry him today," I sobbed. "He's 46. His other wives died. I got the order, but the shelter's full and they're looking for me and I don't know what to do." She pulled out her phone, called CPS emergency line. The voice on the other end wasn't encouraging. "We need more evidence of immediate danger. An emergency protective order based on allegations isn't enough. Has she been physically harmed?" Ms. Rodriguez's face darkened. "She has glass in her feet from running barefoot. She's covered in cuts. Self-inflicted during escape doesn't count as abuse from the family. We need evidence of harm from them." I pulled up my sleeves, showing the circular scars from pot-holding training, the belt marks on my back from years of Friday service training, the burns on my hands. Ms. Rodriguez took photos with trembling hands. "Why didn't you show anyone before?" "I thought it was normal," I whispered, "until I read your pamphlet." She called 911. "There are multiple men trying to break into my classroom. I have a student in danger." Because my family had arrived. I heard my father's voice in the hallway, calm and reasonable. "My daughter is very sick. She has mental health problems. We're very worried. Her medication." Ms. Rodriguez hung up and called school security. "Pull the parking lot footage. She came here alone. If they have medication, they brought it with them. It's a setup." When police arrived, my father had transformed into a concerned parent in an expensive suit, holding prescription bottles with my name on them. "Thank God you're here. My daughter is very ill. She makes up stories, has delusions about our family. Please, we just want to help her." But Ms. Rodriguez was ready. She showed the police my scars, my essays from years of classes, where I'd written about family traditions in ways that documented abuse between the lines. The security footage showing my father arriving with the bottles already in hand. Check when those prescriptions were filled, I said. If I'm supposedly so mentally ill, where are my medical records? Where's my treatment history? The officer called it in. The prescriptions had been filled that morning. I'd never been on any psychiatric medication in my life. It took hours, more police, CPS supervisors, someone from the district attorney's office. My father's calm cracked. He started shouting in Arabic about the dowry being non-refundable, about family honor. What dowry? The officer asked sharply. My father went silent, realizing his mistake. In the end, I was placed in emergency protective custody, but finding placement took time. Ms. Rodriguez called a retired social worker she knew, a woman named Theodora who specialized in cultural cases, girls running from forced marriages. I can take her tonight, Theodora said over the phone. I have experience with this. The ride to Theodora's house took 40 minutes. Away from my community, away from anyone who knew me. The house was modest but secure. Cameras at every corner, tall fence, deadbolts on every door. The bedroom has a lock on the inside, Theodora said. For your peace of mind, you're safe here. That first night, I barely slept. Every car passing made me jump. Every shadow felt like an uncle or cousin coming to drag me back. At 3 a.m., Theodora found me by the window, watching the street. They came for the last girl too, she said quietly. 3 brothers stood at that gate demanding I return their property. Police response time to this address is under 2 minutes. I made sure of that. My family didn't give up. They couldn't reach me directly because of the protective order, but they found other ways. On Sunday, my aunt and 2 cousins showed up at Theodora's door with food containers. We just want to talk. Her grandmother is sick with worry. Theodora didn't even respond, just called police non-emergency. They left before the patrol car arrived, but not before holding up a sign to the camera. We love you. Come home. Tuesday brought flowers, an enormous bouquet with a card. Our hearts are broken. Please forgive us. Love, Mama. Theodora photographed everything before throwing them away. Document everything, every contact attempt. Wednesday, I started at a new school. The counselor, briefed on my situation, assigned me a buddy and arranged for me to eat lunch in the library if needed. After school, I saw my uncle's work truck in the parking lot, not close enough to violate the protective order, but positioned where anyone leaving would have to pass. I called Theodora from the counselor's office. She arrived within minutes, parked directly in front of the truck, and walked me to her car while recording everything. Let them know we see them, she said. Friday morning, everything escalated. Theodora showed me my father's public Facebook post, my photo with a desperate plea. Please help us find our daughter. She is mentally ill and was taken by people filling her head with lies. We fear for her safety. If you see her, please contact us. The comments were already flooding in. Family friends offering prayers, community members sharing it. Some even offered rewards for information. By afternoon, the post had been shared hundreds of times. My photo circulated in community WhatsApp groups with warnings about the sick girl who needs help. Then came the video. One of the girls from my shed meetings, Mina, Layla's little sister, posted a response. She sat beside her mother, reciting clearly rehearsed lines. She told us terrible lies about our family, said our parents wanted to hurt us. She made us scared of our own culture. Please help bring her home so she can get help. Her eyes were vacant, terrified. I cried watching it, knowing the pressure she'd faced to make that video. My lawyer, Patricia, from Legal Aid, filed a complaint with the Housing Authority about the community's systematic abuse of minors. We documented everything: the Friday training sessions, the early marriages, the way families moved girls out of state when they tried to report. I need names, Patricia said. Other girls who've been forced to marry. Witnesses who can corroborate your story. I thought about Zara, who'd told her counselor. About the 6 girls from the shed. About Layla, trapped with Omar. There's one person, I said. If we can find her. Kareem's first wife. They said she died, but I heard rumors she escaped. Fatima al-Mansour. Patricia's investigator found her in 3 days. She was alive, 28 years old, living in a different state under a new name, working as a nurse. When Patricia contacted her, she was terrified at first. "They'll find me if I testify. They think you're dead," Patricia said. "You have power they don't expect." The hearing for the permanent protective order was scheduled 2 weeks after my escape. I walked into that courtroom to find my entire extended family on one side. Aunts, uncles, cousins, community leaders, all in their finest clothes, all staring at me with pity and disgust. My parents sat in front, my mother crying into a handkerchief. Patricia presented our evidence: photos of my scars, my essays, security footage of my father's fake medication stunt, testimony from Ms. Rodriguez. My father's lawyer painted me as a troubled teen corrupted by Western influence. He had character witnesses: the imam from our mosque, family friends, my old pediatrician. "Did you ever notice signs of abuse?" Patricia asked the pediatrician on cross-examination. "No. She was always healthy, well cared for." "Did you ever examine her alone without her mother present?" "Well, no, but..." "So you have no idea what was happening behind closed doors." Then came my testimony. I walked through everything: the Friday training, the belt marks, the pot-holding burns, the starvation, Layla's screaming on her wedding night. "These are serious allegations," the judge said. "Do you have proof?" That's when the courtroom doors opened. A woman entered, young, hijab, walking with a slight limp. "Fatima, Your Honor," she said, "I have information relevant to this case. My name is Fatima al-Mansour. I was Kareem's first wife. I didn't die. I escaped." The courtroom erupted. My father's lawyer objected frantically. My family whispered in shock. "I was 15 when they married me to him," Fatima said once order was restored. "By 20, I'd had 4 children. My kidneys were failing from pregnancies too close together. My family told everyone I died, but a nurse helped me escape." She looked at me. "When I saw your story online, I knew I had to come forward. I couldn't let him do to another girl what he did to me." Her testimony was devastating. The forced pregnancies, the beatings, the way her own family had prioritized reputation over her life. They'd rather tell people I died than admit their daughter left. That's what awaits girls who try to escape: death or erasure. When she finished, the judge's decision was immediate. Permanent protective order granted. No contact. Any violation will result in arrest. As we left the courtroom, my father stood. "You are no daughter of mine. You are dead to us." My mother removed her hijab, a gesture of ultimate rejection. "We have no daughter. She died today." Outside the courthouse, Fatima waited. "You're not alone," she whispered. "There are more of us than they want to admit." She gave me an address. 3 girls in that house. They need help. They need what you know. That night, Ms. Rodriguez and I started creating information packets. Not just pamphlets, but detailed guides hidden inside school notebooks. Phone numbers written as math problems. Legal information disguised as history homework. "We'll distribute through school nurses," Ms. Rodriguez explained. "They're mandatory reporters and can identify at-risk students." We made 50 packets, knowing most would be thrown away by suspicious parents. But if even one reached a girl who needed it. 3 days later, a social worker arrived with a teenage girl. She was from a different family, but her story was familiar. "I found your notebook," she whispered, "hidden in my cousin's room. The one with phone numbers disguised as math." My heart soared. The information was spreading. The calls started coming in. Girls whispering into phones they'd borrowed, giving addresses and names in rushed sentences. I gave them the same information I'd memorized: which teachers to trust, what exact words to say, how to file emergency protective orders. One girl, 15-year-old Samira, called from a locked bathroom. "They're moving me out of state tomorrow to marry my cousin. Please, I don't know what to do. Can you get to the courthouse before they leave?" "I'll try." I alerted CPS and waited. For 3 hours, nothing. Then a call from a social worker. "We have her." She collapsed at the courthouse and told security she was being trafficked across state lines. Her family was trying to take her to the airport. Collapsed. The same trick I'd used. The stomach pain excuse. She'd listened. She'd escaped. My family's response was swift. Since they couldn't contact me directly, they targeted everyone else. Theodora's neighbors were harassed. Businesses refused to serve her. My father filed civil lawsuits for defamation, emotional distress, alienation of affection. They're trying to bankrupt us into silence, Patricia explained. It's a common tactic. Then came videos of girls from my shed meetings, describing how I'd corrupted them with dangerous ideas. Each testimony carefully coached, fear visible in their eyes. The worst attack came at midnight. Theodora's security alarm triggered. Men had cut the fence and were trying to break into the house. We locked ourselves in the bathroom and called 911. Police arrived in under 2 minutes, but the men had fled. "We're moving you," the social worker said. "This placement is compromised." But I was tired of running. No, they want me scared and hidden. I'm done giving them what they want. We compromised. I'd stay with increased security. Officers would rotate shifts. I'd vary my location, never sleeping in the same place twice. A journalist, Mr. Rodriguez, knew, someone who specialized in human rights, wanted to write about the underground network. No names, no photos, she promised. But people need to know this is happening. The article published online and went viral within hours. Comments flooded in from women who'd escaped similar situations, offering support and resources. Organizations reached out wanting to help expand the network, but my family responded with a public statement in the community newsletter. I had been officially disowned, my name erased from family trees. Anyone who spoke to me would face the same fate. In their world, it was worse than death, complete erasure. I felt something unexpected when I read it. Relief. They'd played their final card, and I was still standing. The criminal charges against my father and uncles for attempted kidnapping went to trial 3 months after my escape. I testified for 4 hours, describing the training, the escape, the harassment campaign. My scars were photographed as evidence. Ms. Rodriguez testified. Theodora testified. The retired officer who'd housed me testified. And Fatima testified again, describing her own forced marriage to prove the pattern. The defense tried to paint it as cultural misunderstanding, religious freedom, parental rights, but the jury saw through it. They saw 15-year-old girls being sold to middle-aged men. They saw systematic abuse hidden behind cultural tradition. My father was convicted of conspiracy to commit kidnapping and child endangerment, sentenced to 5 years. My uncles got 3 years each. My mother wasn't charged. She cried on the stand, saying she'd only been following her husband's orders, that she didn't know it was wrong. I didn't believe her, but I understood. She was a victim too. Married at 13, trapped in the same system that had almost destroyed me. A year after my escape, the Freedom Network was official. We had 15 volunteers, safe houses in 3 states, legal aid partnerships, a hotline. We distributed information packets through schools, clinics, libraries, hidden in plain sight. The calls came every week, sometimes multiple calls a day. "I found your notebook. I'm 14 and they're planning my wedding. Please help me." And we did. We helped them file protective orders, connected them with lawyers, got them into safe placements, taught them their rights. Not every girl escaped. Some were moved out of state before we could help. Some were too scared to run. Some went back to their families. But many did escape, and every escape weakened the system a little more. Samira, the girl who collapsed at the courthouse, became one of our volunteers. At 17, she enrolled in college, something her family had said was forbidden for women. She studied social work with the goal of helping other girls like us. "You saved my life," she told me once. "You saved your own life," I corrected. "I just gave you information." One day, she called me, voice shaking with excitement. My little sister just turned 13. She called me yesterday to ask about her rights. She found one of our notebooks at school and memorized everything. Is she in danger? Not yet, but she's preparing, just like you did. That's when I realized what we'd really built. Not just an escape network, a knowledge network. Girls teaching girls. Information spreading like wildfire through whispered conversations and hidden notebooks. My family couldn't stop it. Nobody could. 2 years after my escape, I got an unexpected call. My mother was dying, liver failure. The family wanted me to come say goodbye. Patricia advised against it. It could be a trap, but something made me go. With security, with witnesses, but I went. She was in hospice, looking 20 years older than she was, 43 and dying because her body had been destroyed by too many pregnancies, too much stress, too little medical care. We sat alone for 10 minutes. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I thought I was protecting you, preparing you for life. I didn't know. You knew it was wrong," I said quietly. "You knew because you lived it. You were married at 13. You know what that feels like." She cried. "I thought it was the only way. I thought if I didn't prepare you, you'd be even worse off." There was another way. There was always another way. She died 3 days later. My family held a funeral. I wasn't invited, but 30 girls sent me messages that week. Girls who'd escaped, girls who were planning to escape, girls who'd found the notebooks. "Because of you," they said, "we knew we had choices." 5 years after my escape, the Freedom Network has helped 127 girls. Some are in college, some are working, some are rebuilding relationships with family members who've changed their views. Some are still healing. I'm 20, studying social work, planning to become a lawyer. I want to change the laws, make it harder for communities to hide these practices. Samira runs one of our safe houses now. Fatima trains volunteers. Ms. Rodriguez expanded the program to 3 school districts. The shed, where I first taught 6 girls their rights, it's been torn down. But it doesn't matter. We don't need sheds anymore. The information is everywhere. In schools, in clinics, in whispered conversations between girls who refuse to accept their fate. My family still won't speak to me. I'm officially dead to them. Erased. But I'm alive in ways they'll never understand. Free. Educated, making choices they told me I'd never have. Last week, I got a letter from Zara, the girl who made that first CPS call that gave me my chance to escape. She's 18 now, in college, studying to be a teacher. "I want to be like Miss Rodriguez," she wrote. "I want to be the person who leaves pamphlets unlocked in a drawer for the right girl to find." I read that letter 3 times, then added it to the box where I keep all the messages from girls who escaped. 127 girls. 127 lives that didn't end in forced marriages. 127 victories against a system designed to silence us. My name is Amira. I was sold into marriage at 15, so I built an underground rescue network, and we're just getting started.